Thanks a lot for coming in.
Good morning. Happy to be here.
Something about this community appeals to you?
This is a wonderful place to live.
For Kelowna Now, this is Camp Mulgat. And we're joined by David Beaudoin, the self-styled cheese ambassador of Canada. Thanks so much for coming on to tell us all about cheese. So, who are you, David Beaudoin? How did you become this cheese ambassador?
Well, first, thanks for having me. I became the cheese ambassador because I love cheese, but because I also discovered by judging cheese all around the country, and I discovered that we have amazing cheese, but we don't see them around. So I took it upon myself to educate people on cheese so that we can grow, because Canada, we're a little behind compared to other countries, and it's normal, especially Western Canada. And I decided, let's go, let's get those cheese known, let's train people, the chain stores, the new stores that are opening, and everyday people to understand cheese, the living, breathing thing that it is, and the amazing thing that it is.
Right.
So that people can understand better and support our own, because we have amazing cheese in the country.
What is it that people tend to not know or understand about cheese?
That it's alive, changing, breathing. The packaging needs to be the right packaging for the cheese, otherwise you might kill the rind. You cannot suffocate a rind. A rind needs to breathe. When you open up a cheese that you bought and it's been suffocating, you need to let it breathe for half an hour, an hour.
Oh.
If there's a little bit of ammonia coming in, but it's still in its prime life, you just need to let it breathe so it dissipates, and then you fully enjoy, because the live bacteria will come back naturally to their lives.
Right, so I understand that you will, on behalf of the Dairy Farmers of Canada, make presentations about cheese to just try to educate.
Absolutely. So I do that with dairy farmers because in Canada, we have one of the best quality of milk in the world. And me visiting so many farms, what we see on Netflix of the 6,000 cows farms, this is not Canada. It's illegal to give growth hormones to cows in Canada. And our farmers really care. So when I represent and wear my Dairy Farmers of Canada hat, I am happy to tell people how our farmers care and the quality of milk that we have here in the country. And there's smaller farmers and there's little bigger farmers. And in Europe, it's happening. They're becoming all bigger farms as well. So,
I know people love to hear about all the different wines and the process.
Oh, yeah.
I take it that the production of cheese is probably even more complicated and nuanced than making wine.
well, I don't want to say it's more, because there's probably going to be some winemakers saying it's not.
Right.
But the one thing that's for sure is it's much easier to buy a case of wine that can sit in a warehouse compared to a case of cheese.
Yeah.
So that's a big thing right there. Plus the cheese, you have to babysit way more. You have to brush. You have to talk to it. So there's love going in the cheese, right?
Yeah. Now, you recently, though, back to the wine thing, you did an event at the BX Cider.
Yes.
And you were pairing cheeses with ciders and wines. I think people hear about wine and cheese. Cider and cheese, not so much.
Yeah, that's right. Well, it's growing. Ciders used to be way more popular back in the days than wine, actually. That was the drink to go to. Wine also grew up to be more, and we're in such an amazing valley with so many terroirs, and you bring like the terroir of the cheese, the terroir of the wine, but the terroir of the apples, which now all those fields of really nice apples that have been there for so long are being taken away to replace with grapes and vines for wine. But cider is amazing. There's lots of great acidity. There's good sparkliness. And the ones that do it right, with the right acidity and just the right alcohol content, like amazing for cheese. You just need to know how they match together, the intensities. The apples and cheese is one of the great things. Like, think of apple cheddar. Add a little mustard to it. And then when you add that third element from local businesses as well that make amazing accompaniments, it's just like wow,
Yeah.
it's a taste bud party.
I know, and really, it's so good to have you in a valley where there's so much wine and cider being produced. It's just great to see someone who can sort of represent cheese. I mean, a lot of us love cheese, but I go up to the cheese counter and I'm really a bit lost. I know I'm probably going to love almost everything, but we almost need like a cheese guide right there at the store with us.
Absolutely, and that's the interesting part. So Wedge Cheesery in Vernon is the first specialty store that has opened 2 months ago soon, and they're just selling lots of cheese, helping lots of people.
So that would be a great
finally
place
cheese.
where the person behind the counter is really going to know.
Absolutely. So then they can recommend according to what you want, and if you don't know what you want, they'll have you taste some cheese.
Right.
And soon there's going to be one opening up downtown Kelowna, and there's another one as well that's planned to open up in about 4 or 5 months. So I help them all get cheese and hopefully more Canadian and BC cheese because we're right here and we need to support our own at any cost.
Right. So I saw on a list of cheeses that you have drawn people's attention to, a lot of Quebec cheese, but a lot of BC cheese as well. What have you brought here for us?
Well,
I'm having a hard time forming words because I'm really getting a mouth-watering effect from just smelling these beautiful cheeses.
Yeah, absolutely. We're well treated. We're one of the most decorated. So if we start from, because I brought cheese to represent the whole country, where I could go on with a much bigger cheese board.
Right.
But anyway.
So this is like we have Canada right here on the platter?
Almost. There's Ontario missing, and there's amazing cheese in Ontario as well, but I can only fit so much in that little board. So starting with right here in the middle, this is called Avonlea. And Avonlea,
I'll turn it so,
in 2017, won Best Vintage Cheddar in the world. So if you think Canada doesn't have good cheddar, you're completely wrong because we won in England for Best Cloth-Bound Cheddar.
Wow.
So right there, Prince Edward Island Cow's Creamery.
That was the best. May I just have a...
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a little piece right there.
That's the one.
Best cheddar in the world?
It is, yeah. You'll get like Prince Edward Island's known for potatoes. You'll get the fresh, unwashed potatoes that comes from the rind in. So the outside where the rind is almost for some people too earthy. Mm-hmm. Yet when you get that piece from the middle in, then you get the sweetness, yet a little bit of earthiness. Mm-hmm. And bring that in with some wines. I love the wines that have that earthiness component. But cheddars, you can go in the big reds, the Merlot, Cabernet Sauvignon.
I imagine when you said it's the best in the world that it would be over the top strong, but it's a little bit subtle, but yet really kind of lots of flavors.
Lots of flavor. Way more than what you expect from a mass-produced cheese. I believe we need to start understanding. We have so much food in this world now accessible to us. What we need is not quantity, but quality. And our body will respond so much better to it. You won't get as addicted to it. It will be a good addiction that when you had enough, your body will tell you.
I've heard people say that cheese is actually addictive.
Yes.
Is that true?
Absolutely it is.
But it's not a bad addiction.
No, well, not to me anyway. And dairy fat has so much benefit to it.
Right.
The first one being flavor. If you take it out, you take out the flavor. And when you're going to have that piece of amazing creamy cheese, you put it in your mouth, what happens? You either think, oh, I shouldn't do it. So many people think that. And that's the contrary to health. So what are they doing? When you're going to have full fat, super creamy, beautiful cheese, enjoy it. That is health. Feel good about it. And if really you don't and it makes you feel not good, be aware of that and stop eating it. Just do the things that your body tells you.
Okay. So Prince Edward Island is in the
Yes.
middle. What else? This one you're mentioning here. This is BC cheese.
Yes, but we have to finish with the blue because otherwise you're going to get your taste buds completely gone.
Okay, we want to keep it, near 10 minutes, so speed up the tour.
So over here we have one of the best brie in the country, Fromagerie du Presbytère. It's made in a presbytery. They're all farmstead, so they milk the cows and then process the cheese right away. So much flavor to this brie. from Quebec. Over here, 1608. This is the most sustainable cheese in the country. It uses a process when they have whey after making cheese.
Right.
They skim the fat off, and then they use the whey to create methane, which they power up the plant, heat up all the water, and then put in hydroponics, grow plants, mulch them for the fields where the cow eat the grass, and then after that there's water left and cleaner than it actually is in nature, so they're allowed to release it, making a positive trace on the planet.
Wow.
So that's why
So you
I
can
brought the
really feel
1608.
good about that one.
Yes, and it's one of the protected breed because it only uses La Canadienne, which are small, very high butter fat type of cows that makes amazing tasty milk. And then Boring Cast that's smoked from Vancouver Island.
That's this one right here.
That's
yeah.
this one right
Vancouver
there.
Island.
Yeah, smoked, kind of a Gouda in style, but a little different, super creamy, sweet, apple wood smoked, and beautiful cheesemakers that are right in Courtenay, BC. And then finally from Montleman in Abbotsford, that one is a blue, and it's the only one here that is made from a different milk. It's actually water buffalo milk.
That is crazy. You mentioned that before. Water buffalo
Yes.
milk.
Yes.
I didn't even know there was such a thing.
Yes, there is.
And so does that make it the cheese different? Like,
Well, yes, because it has even more butter fat to it. 100% more. So
Wow.
when cows on average might give you like 5.2%, and that's fairly high, actually maybe 4%, the water buffalo will give you about 8.2.
so I'm going to just break up a tiny piece here.
Because you're a blue lover.
Oh, I just love the blue cheese.
Yes.
So I'm imagining this is, with all of that fat content, this is going to be really rich.
Rich but tasty, and you'll feel the calcium lactate, those crystals to it, and you'll see it'll just
Wow.
melt off. It might have a punch as well, but you'll see how nice, sweet, and creamy it becomes.
It's like
just
fireworks
delicious.
in my mouth. That is just unbelievable. Wow. So what a diverse thing cheese is. I mean,
Absolutely. And it's alive, it's changing, it's breathing. You have to package it properly.
Yeah.
In many stores, they wrap in plastic wrap. There's cheese papers that will be better, but then it doesn't last as long. There's beeswax paper, but then you get the beeswax taste going in the cheese. There's so many ways, and I haven't got a perfect one, but now there's a recyclable plastic that comes in that's amazing for cheese. So there's options, but we need to start thinking as well about the impact
Right.
we have. And cheese, plastic is still one of the...
so how do you do it? Having all of these cheeses around you and tasting them all, why do you not weigh 350 pounds by now?
Because the butter fat and the dairy fat is not one that attach to you. It protects your organ. It feeds your brain. That's why every morning I have my coffee. I put real grass-fed butter in my coffee, coconut oil, cocoa butter. All those fats are necessary for us, but we've just been trained to believe that fat is not good for us. The hydrogenated fats
It does seem like more and more people now, when if they are concerned about their weight, are kind of focusing their attention more on simple carbs and not worried as much about fats.
Yes.
And it obviously, if you do eat a lot of cheese.
Oh, loads
so
of cheese.
There you are, living examples. You can eat lots of cheese.
Yes.
You're not necessarily.
I just went like a month ago to my doctor and asked, okay, you know what? I eat way more than what the Canadian Food Guide would recommend.
Yeah.
So can you just do a blood test so I see
Right.
where I'm at? And so I really preach what I tell people. And he came back, he says, you're going to be just awesome, I am sure.
Cholesterol? Did they test
Cholesterol,
that?
it's totally low. I'm full health, and my blood is totally top notch. And so I was kind of worried because I'm just like, yeah, I do eat lots of cheese and do lots of pairing, and
Yeah.
but that's why there's something like the French paradox that exists out there, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, dairy fat
But still,
has lots of
too much of
benefits.
anything, though, right? I mean, you do probably want to just restrain yourself a little bit.
Well, I eat lots of fiber. I drink lots of water. I exercise as much as I can. Now that my kids are getting past the 2 years old and the youngest one, now I'm starting to get back to sleep and exercising. So that's
Right.
If you do that, then I think you can eat lots of cheese.
So anyone who watches this interview this far in is probably a cheese enthusiast and might want to see you in action talking about cheeses.
Yes.
Is there an event coming up where they
There is quite a few. You can go on Canadian Cheese, or actually cheeseambassador.ca, and then you'll see the list of events you can book. We're doing, so I have quite a few in lines. I did one yesterday with wine versus beer. We have one at the end of the month at BX as well. Actually, wine versus beer. We did cider versus beer, and then we did cider versus wine yesterday. So July 31st, then I have another one at Karmic Bazaar downtown where I'm going to do cheese art with a nice, because it's a super awesome art boutique out there, one of a kind in the country. And so I'll do a full cheese board art down there.
Wow.
That's in July 26th. Then I'm doing beer and cheese at Cheese Crafters Beer Fest in the Lower Mainland. So I'll be doing all the beer and cider pairings for seminars. So 5 of them all together on that day. So that's July 21st. And the list goes on. I'm going for the AGM as well with Dairy Farmers, where I created a bite, and I'll serve cheese on stilts. And
I've seen you on stilts.
yeah, I forget because there's probably more in between. Actually, yeah, July 12th is the soonest at Dirty Laundry in Summerland. So that's one we're going to do education, 6 pairings. And we're going to have music in between for people to fully connect.
Okay.
But they learn and understand the cheese, the pairing, the wine.
So that's coming up July 12th at Dirty Laundry.
That's right.
Great chance to see you. David Beaudoin, Canada's cheese ambassador. Thanks very much for coming in.
Ken, thank you so much for having me and spreading the love of Canadian cheese.
All right, and thank you for watching Kelowna Now.